DeAndre Wilkins had only wanted a peaceful afternoon after a long week on the road. Just him, a cold glass of tea, some smooth jazz, and Milo, his faithful brindle mutt, in the modest backyard of the home he'd worked years to afford. But the peace shattered when a woman he'd never seen before, dressed in a beige visor and entitlement, strolled toward his fence like she owned the block. Without a hello, she accused him of trespassing right there, in his own sanctuary, and before he could fully process the insult, she pulled out her phone and called 911, describing him as a suspicious black man, possibly armed. The weight of history hit him like a brick. He'd seen this scenario unfold too many times, and now he was the headline. Staying still and calm, he made sure his hands were visible when 2 squad cars roared in, sirens slicing through the heat. Met them at the front with ID in hand, voice steady, though adrenaline thudded in his chest. The officers demanded proof, and he gave it license utility bills. Even doorbell footage that showed everything, the woman's approach, her lies, and the truth of his presence. Still, she stood on the sidewalk with smug confidence, saying, "He doesn't look like he belongs." That sentence hung in the air like poison, but this time the poison didn't stick. One officer told her flatly she had trespassed and made a false report. Her face cracked. DeAndre didn't press charges, not yet, but he made sure to lock his door behind him and upload the footage everywhere. Cloud, USB, phone. That evening, as Milo laid at his feet sensing the tension, DeAndre called his sister, voice low, heart heavy. "She tried to erase me in broad daylight," he said. His sister didn't hesitate. "Post it. Show them. This ends when people like her get exposed." The next morning, he did. No flashy editing, no music, just the raw truth. The video opened with a caption that would shake every viewer. "She told me to leave my own home." DeAndre had posted the footage to Facebook, thinking only a few friends would see it, maybe enough to start a conversation. Nothing more, but by lunchtime, it had spread like fire, shared thousands of times, landing on Twitter and catching the attention of local activists who declared, "This is why cameras matter." By dinner time, a reporter had already reached out. He declined the interview, but it didn't matter anymore. The video had a life of its own. Strangers from high school, people he'd forgotten, messaged with concern, or stories of their own. Cousins in Modesto, joggers in Tulsa, a woman in Nevada, tired of being introduced like a guest in her own neighborhood. By Friday, a blurred-face version aired on Channel 23, her voice sharp and undeniable. "He doesn't belong here." It was surreal. He'd gone from a jazz afternoon to a symbol for something much larger. On Saturday, watering his lawn, a woman named Loretta pulled up, introduced herself kindly, and offered solidarity words he hadn't realized he needed. Others followed. A retired vet, a quiet white couple, a shame they hadn't said anything. But not everyone came in peace. Someone had taped a flyer to the community mailbox, his face printed from the video, a question mark scrawled on his forehead. No words, just contempt. That evening, Officer Delgado, the one who'd stayed silent during the initial call, returned not in uniform but thoughtful, regretful, holding a photo of an anonymous hate letter the department received. "We're reviewing procedures," he said, but DeAndre knew the rot ran deeper than policy. The next day, national media got involved. His story was reshared by verified journalists, civil rights advocates, and strangers who saw their own pain. And his messages poured in, some full of guilt, others full of thanks. A news crew showed up, and for the first time DeAndre stepped in front of a mic. Not angry, just exhausted, saying, "I sat in my backyard. That's all I did." The impact was immediate. A civil rights attorney emailed offering help. The HOA began reviewing Caroline's past behavior. Online, the neighborhood group fractured supporters, deniers, defenders of context. Still, DeAndre said nothing. He watched, listened, documented, and when a small group gathered on his curb holding signs of quiet solidarity, he didn't speak much, just handed out water, nodded in gratitude, and understood. His silence wouldn't protect him, but his truth might just shift the ground beneath their feet. DeAndre never imagined that one doorbell video would fracture his quiet world, let alone ripple across the state, pulling strangers into his story like gravity. One woman drove in from Visalia just to shake his hand and tell him, "This kind of thing doesn't stay quiet anymore, and it shouldn't." And though he nodded in agreement, he felt the shift deep in his chest. Clarity was coming, but clarity demanded a choice. By the next week, he lived in two worlds, the ordinary routines of hedge trimming and dog walks, and the new unasked-for role the internet had carved for him: symbol, target, hope. Neighbors stared longer now. Some waved like nothing changed. Others whispered like everything had. It wasn't just about one woman anymore, it was about the mirror the video had forced everyone to look into. And not everyone liked the reflection. At the HOA meeting, packed and moved to the rec center due to public attention, DeAndre tried to stay invisible in a plain shirt and cap, but the moment Caroline Dittmer stood up, righteous and rehearsed, claiming concern and history over harm, he couldn't stay seated. His voice was calm but sharp as glass. "You walked onto my property, accused me, lied, and now you want to be the victim." Her silence said everything. When a longtime neighbor called it what it was, control, not concern, Others nodded. Some clapped, and the room shifted. After the meeting, quiet neighbors approached. Confessions, support, confusion. One retired man, Wesley, admitted he thought things like this didn't happen in neighborhoods like theirs. "It made me sick," he said, and offered to help DeAndre speak if he ever chose to address the community himself. Back home, DeAndre sat in silence, pacing as his dog Milo watched from the rug. Could he become that man, the one who stood up, spoke out, turned pain into change? An outreach group messaged. Then a civil rights attorney, Simone Lackey, met him over coffee and said plainly, "This wasn't just rude, it was a violation of your rights." He wondered if legal action meant looking like he was chasing money or making waves. "No," Simone said. "It means you're making space for the next person to be treated better." That line stuck. Invitations followed from a community forum at a local church to a high school civics class. At the forum, when a woman said, "I never knew what a microaggression was until I saw your video," DeAndre finally spoke. He didn't speak to accuse, he spoke to be seen. "I didn't post that video to go viral," he said. "I just didn't want to be erased." His words spread, not because of marketing, but because they were real. The next morning, he got an email from a history teacher. "My students saw your speech. They don't believe things like this still happen. Would you come speak to them?" And without overthinking it, DeAndre said yes. He wasn't a politician. He wasn't an activist. But he was a man who had been seen, misjudged, and nearly silenced, and now silence wasn't an option anymore. "I'm a guy who went home to play jazz in his yard and ended up being told I didn't belong on my own property." 30 minutes and 9 seconds he told them about the phone call, the police showing up. The mail, 30 minutes and 14 seconds, the camera, the way silence can sometimes feel like violence to 32:19:1. Student raised her hand. "Do you think she really believed you didn't live there?" 30 minutes and 24 seconds? Or was she just pretending? DeAndre thought about that for a second. "I think she believed what she wanted to believe." 30 minutes and 32 seconds. That's the dangerous part. People don't always see what's real. They see what makes them feel in control. 32:39. Another student leaned forward. "What would have happened if you didn't have a camera?" DeAndre didn't answer right away. 30 minutes and 47 seconds. That's a question I've been asking myself ever since, and honestly, I don't know. 30 minutes and 52 seconds, but I do know I wouldn't be standing in front of you. The class went quiet afterwards. 30 minutes and 58 seconds. A few of the students came up and thanked him. One kid shook his hand and said, "I'm gonna ask my dad some real questions tonight." 31 minutes and 5 seconds. That stayed with DeAndre back at home. He found a letter taped to his door. 31 minutes and 10 seconds. No stamp, no name. Just a note written in careful cursive. 31 minutes and 16 seconds. "I watched your speech. I didn't clap that night because I didn't know how." 31 minutes and 21 seconds. "But I'm learning, and I'm sorry. A neighbor." He stood there on the porch. 31 minutes and 26 seconds. Letter in hand, staring out at the street. It looked the same, but it felt different now. 31 minutes and 32 seconds. Not healed but shifting. Later that week, Simone called him again. "Just checking in," she said. 31 minutes and 40 seconds. "Any thoughts about the legal side?" "I'm thinking," he replied, "but I also think." 31 minutes and 45 seconds. "There's something more powerful than just dragging someone through court." Simone paused. "Like what?" "Making sure they can't ignore it anymore." 31 minutes and 53 seconds. "Not just Caroline, all of them, the people who thought what happened was okay, or didn't think about it at all." 31 minutes and 59 seconds. He'd started keeping a notebook. Every message, every story, someone shared with him. 32 minutes and 5 seconds since the video went public. He wrote it down, and as the pages filled, he started to see a pattern. 32 minutes and 12 seconds. This wasn't rare, this wasn't a fluke, it was just the first time someone caught it on camera and refused to back down. 32 to 20 a month. After the incident, the HOA sent out a community-wide announcement. Caroline Dittmer had stepped down from her role. 32 minutes and 27 seconds. No explanation, just a brief formal notice. She never apologized. DeAndre didn't expect that. 32 minutes and 34 seconds. Some neighbors still kept their distance. Others had warmed a few. Asked him to grab coffee. 32 minutes and 39 seconds. Or speak at their churches. He wasn't trying to become a spokesperson, but he understood now. Sometimes. 32 to 46. Just telling the truth out loud is a kind of leadership, but truth without action fades. 32 minutes and 51 seconds. And there was one final thing DeAndre needed to say before this chapter closed. One evening, about 5 weeks after everything began, 32 minutes and 59 seconds, DeAndre stood on his back patio again. Same chair, same speaker, same old jazz. Milo was stretched out nearby. 33 minutes and 7 seconds. Eyes half closed, snoring softly. The yard looked just like it always had. 33 to 12, but to D, it didn't feel the same anymore. He took a sip from a cold glass and opened his notebook. 33:18, a fresh page. Blank. He thought about writing a speech. Something powerful, something polished. 33 minutes and 26 seconds, but instead he picked up his phone and hit record this time. It wasn't for the news or a forum or a classroom. 33 minutes and 33 seconds. It was just him. Hey, he said into the camera. It's DeAndre. I've been quiet the past few days. Thinking 33 minutes and 39 seconds, trying to figure out how to wrap my head around all this. He paused. I didn't plan to be anyone's less than 33 minutes and 46 seconds. I didn't ask to become a viral headline. I just wanted to sit in my backyard. That's it. I wanted to listen to music with my dog. 33 minutes and 55 seconds, and someone decided that was suspicious. Someone decided I didn't look like I belonged in the house. 34. I worked for, saved for, paid for, and lived in. He shifted in his seat. You can talk about laws, about policies. 34 minutes and 8 seconds about bias training, but at the end of the day, this comes down to something simpler. 34:15, it single quotes is about how we see each other or how we refuse to. He looked at the screen, expression steady. 34 minutes and 21 seconds. You don't have to like everyone. You don't have to understand everyone's background or story. 34 minutes and 27 seconds, but what you can't do is decide someone's value or their rights based on what makes you feel comfortable. 34 minutes and 34 seconds. He paused again, his voice quieter now. There are so many people walking around with their guard up, people 34 to 40 who would feel like they've got to explain why they exist in certain spaces. That kind of pressure, it wears you down slowly. 34 minutes and 48 seconds, quietly, until moments like mine happen, and suddenly you can't ignore it anymore. He let out a slow breath. I'm not a victim. 34 minutes and 55 seconds, but I'm also not going to pretend like what happened didn't hurt. It did. It still does. 35 minutes and 0 seconds, but maybe that hurt means something if it wakes people up, if it forces one neighbor. 35 minutes and 5 seconds, one student, one coworker, to think before they assume. He leaned back, letting the silence hang for a moment. 35:12 before ending the recording. He didn't post it right away. He just saved it, a record of how he felt in that moment. 35 minutes and 19 seconds without edits or filters. A few days later, he uploaded it to his page. No hashtags, no caption. 35:26. Just the video. The response wasn't massive, but it was real. Comments trickled in. 35:32. I needed to hear this. Thank you for saying what most of us are too tired to explain. My dad watched this and didn't say a word. 35:39. That means more than you know. DeAndre didn't feel victorious. This wasn't a win, but it was a start. 35:47. He saw what it looked like when people stopped pretending things were fine and started having real conversations. 35 minutes and 53 seconds. He didn't press charges, he didn't sue, but he worked with a local housing rights group. 35:58 to set up monthly meets in Bakersfield. Open talks between neighbors, law enforcement, educators. 36 minutes and 5 seconds. The first one drew 12 people, the third had over 30. He kept the notebook. 36 minutes and 10 seconds, filled more pages, stories, names, thoughts, plans. 36:16. And he kept his jazz speaker because that backyard, that was still his. 36:21. Sometimes change doesn't come with a bang. Sometimes it shows up in tired voices finally being heard. 36 minutes and 27 seconds. In new eyes meeting yours without suspicion, in silence that starts to break open. 36:32. If this story made you think even just a little, then let it be the start of something. 36:38. Speak up, ask better questions, be a better neighbor, and if you haven't already, 36 minutes and 45 seconds, hit that subscribe button. There are more stories to tell, and we're just getting started.